Good evening, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science here in New York City. Welcome to our Louise Hay self-healing class. Whether you're joining us live tonight on Zoom for the first time or whether you're a regular participant to our community, we're thrilled that you're with us this evening, this afternoon. Today's class lesson is entitled Words That Heal, Shaping Your Reality. What we're going to do tonight is take a heart-opening journey into how our thoughts, our words, and our actions can transform our life. We're weaving Louise Hay's timeless teaching that we do every week on self-love. Today I'm going to introduce a bit of Florence Scovel Shinn's Spark. I've shared her work before. And the wisdom from Rumi's poetry, Confucius's virtues, and even a little bit of Benjamin Franklin. So tonight, grab a pen, grab a spoon, grab a phone, or simply raise your hand. Whatever it is can be your wand for this evening. Your word is your wand, according to Florence Scovel Shinn. So we can wave it together, our word, our wand, and we can spark something within us that's magical. We gather here 3 times a week. I'm sure most of you know that. Wednesdays at 7, Reverend Jimmy, heads up our creative living gathering. Same Zoom links always. And Thursdays, here we are. And then for the Louise Hay self-healing class. And every Sunday morning at 10:45, we have a meditation that's followed by our main week's message or service. And it's always on the same Zoom link. And if any of you feel called to support the center, there's options in the chat room to support. There's options on the social media. And simply, it's really a great help to us if you go to the YouTube channel, subscribe and like. That does us a lot of good. So do whatever you can. We appreciate anything and everything that anyone does. Your support, whether through your words, financial, emotional, or anything else, energetic, keeps the light shining bright. Our space is always a space for healing, abundance, and connection. So let's live these truths with passion. Let's wave our wands and so we can shape our worlds. So what if your words, here's a question. What if your words weren't just communication, but they were creation itself? Because in fact they are. Your words, every thought you think is creating, right? So what if your words weren't just communication? What if you understood them as creation? What if the very phrases you spoke, the thoughts that you nurture, the jokes that you repeat, were writing the blueprint of your life? Because they are. In religious science, we say often change your thinking and you will change your life. But what if the thinking alone isn't enough? What if it's more than that? What if it's the feeling behind the thinking or the passion behind the words that drives what we talk about, the proverbial bus? So it's our thoughts, but I want you to consider tonight, it's the feeling behind your thoughts, the passion behind all of it that really moves it forward. Louise Hay believed that self-love heals everything. And that sounds lofty, but let's bring it home a little bit. Self-love isn't about being perfect or being egotistic or pretending that you're happy all the time. It's about learning to speak to yourself with a greater degree of kindness. Self-love is about having more compassion for yourself. And of course, then you'll extend it to others. It's the kind of love that you'd give a friend after a hard day. Louise Hay would say, look in the mirror and say, I love you just the way you are. Again, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I got you. I love you just the way you are. The first time I tried doing that, I remember it seeming silly to me. I looked like I was a confused actor, saying lines that I wasn't connecting with. So I've seen many people go through this over the years. The mirror is really tough in the beginning on people. But you know what? It's the more you do it and you say, I approve of you, I love, accept, and approve of you, the more you begin to do that, you're planting seeds. And you don't have to believe it right away. You just have to practice it. And that's what Louise was teaching all of us, to repeat these affirmations and to do so increasingly with feelings. Because as you say things over again, as you affirm and you with feeling, you're going to build new roads in your consciousness. So let's pause now for a moment, take a breath, in and out, exhaling the idea that you have to figure anything out. You're here tonight, this afternoon, or you're listening later, and you're doing the work that's important. Now, Florence Scovel brought a sharper, spunkier voice to this teaching when she said, your word is your wand. Your words actually cast energetic ripples that shape your reality. In her book, she affirmed, I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. So let's think about that. I'll say it again. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. So when you say, nothing ever works out for me, if you say that to yourself, things don't work out for me, or you're not expressing just disappointment. You are reinforcing a pattern when you make those kind of statements. Again, your word is your wand. So say to yourself, I love myself. I speak healing. I invite ease. I trust the unfolding. And as you do, you're going to start to feel a little shift within yourself. Because as you do it, you're breaking the spell of powerlessness. See, many people walk around thinking they're powerless over all kinds of things. But as you start using your word, you'll notice the energy starts to shift. And again, you're breaking yourself out of this spell that I'm not enough, I'm not okay, I'm powerless. So here's the thing. We begin wherever we are. We don't have to be perfect. We simply need to have a little bit of willingness. So many lessons, different places, metaphysical, 12-step, you'll hear willingness is the key. It's the spark that ignites new results. Florence also said, there are no obstacles in the divine mind, absolutely none. So when you're talking about obstacles, you're not talking about truth. She would say there is no obstacles, no obstacles in the divine mind. Now that doesn't mean we won't hit potholes. It doesn't mean there won't be days that it seems like we're taking a step backward. It means that your spirit knows how to navigate through your life. But you have to connect and speak from that place, knowing that you're one with the one. And you have to speak as though the healing is happening in you and through you right now. Today I thought of Helen Keller. She was one of those powerful people. I remember watching her story when I was younger. Her story blends courage, the kind of courage most people never have, words, and healing in a way that almost felt mystical and mythical. She was born in 1880, and she was both deaf and blind due to illness before the age of 2. Now, if you can imagine just for a moment that you lived in a world right now where you couldn't hear a thing, you couldn't see anything, you had no sight, and you had no clear way to communicate, you can imagine all the feelings that you would have. By the time Helen was just 7 years old, she was trapped in this world of silence and frustration, upset, unable to express her needs, her hunger, her love, unable to express anything. And life did something miraculous. It presented her with a great teacher, Annie Sullivan. And the teacher began spelling words into Helen's hands day after day, hour after hour. It just would seem like it was taking forever. And Helen later said, that living word awakened my soul eventually when she put it together. And it awakened her soul, and it gave her soul light. It gave her soul hope, joy. She said, it set my soul free. Helen went on to graduate from Radcliffe College, and you would be surprised to know that she wrote 12 books. She went to speak before Congress, and she went to speak before Congress on the rights of of the disabled, and that was decades before the American Disabilities Act ever existed. Her words were once impossible. The very words that were once impossible became the instruments of global healing. Helen didn't start out with belief or need to be right. She started with effort. So that's what I'm saying. We need to have willingness. She started with effort. She started with passion. She started with persistency. And just like Louise Hay's mirror work, just like Florence Scovel Shinn's wand, Keller broke through limitation. She broke through by refusing to speak the language of defeat. She was supposed to be a really tough young woman. She wasn't going to be defeated. So let's pause here for a moment. In our minds, grab our wand, our poem, our pen or a spoon. Maybe it's a remote control. Or if you have nothing, just raise your hand and repeat with me. I'm not silenced. I shape my world. My consciousness shapes my world. Again, I'm not silenced. I shape my world. I'm cause to my own experience. I'm not a victim of anything. I'm cause to my own world. So this isn't just a phrase, it's a declaration. And every time you declare something true, you're going to reinforce it, not just spiritually, but also neurologically. Now let's go to Rumi, the great mystic of the 13th century, because he reminds us of something just as powerful when he said, beyond the ideas of who's wrong and right, beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a place, there's a field, and I'll meet you there. You see, that field is the open heart. That field is beyond any kind of judgment. That field is where healing begins. Rumi was, you may know, exiled, grieving, and filled with longing when he wrote those lines. His life wasn't perfect. It was passionate, it was raw, it had cracked open. And yet through all that trouble, through the crack, the light entered. One of his most famous lines, the wound is the place where the light enters you. So it's easy to talk about healing when things are going well. But this path, the real path, is about walking through the hard moments with words that uplift rather than words that wound. We can all do it that way. But what he's talking about, the real path, is about walking through the hardest times with words that will uplift, keeping that consciousness. So now let's shift scenes for a moment. Let's go from Rumi's poetic meadow to ancient China, where a very wise teacher you've heard of before, Confucius, offered a different kind of guidance. He didn't write affirmations or mystical verses. He lived simply and he taught by example. Confucius' whole life was about walking his talk. He believed that there's 5 inner qualities if you practice every day will transform not just a person, but an entire society. And so today they offer us something powerful too. They're not lofty, they're not abstract, they're just tools, real everyday tools for reshaping how you show up in the world. And here they are in very plain terms. First, he mentioned was gravity, and that's having the quiet strength to stay grounded when life doesn't go as planned. When the news is upsetting, when somebody speaks to you harshly, when everything feels uncertain, but you choose to be in a different place and not to lash out. That's dignity under pressure. Next, from Confucius, is developing a generosity of spirit, doing something kind when you don't have to, doing something kind when nobody's watching, maybe checking in on somebody who's going through a tough time. Not for credit, just because this is who you are. The next quality that Confucius was speaking of, sincerity, saying, I matter, and really understanding that you matter, not from a place of ego, but just knowing who you are. You're one with the one, and saying, I matter. and having that kind of sincerity. And the next quality is earnestness. And that means showing up with heart, maybe not perfectly, but showing up earnestly with care and with positive regard. And the next, which seems very similar, is developing kindness, even when it's not returned, maybe especially when it's not returned. You see, these aren't performances. This is power. This is personal power as you cultivate it. They don't always even make you look good, but they make you feel connected. They make you feel aligned with life. And when we speak of these qualities and we speak them out loud, ideas like I'm generous, I'm sincere, I'm kind, we're not just saying words, we're stepping into the truth of who we really are. When you're practicing these ideas, Florence would say, and now doors open for happy surprises. These will be your demonstrations. When we live our words, when we make our words verbs, not just vibes, doors really do open because life reflects that, right? Life is going to reflect on the outside, what you're living on the inside. So when we're living our words, when we really make our words verbs, they're action things, not just, vibes, the doors will open. So let's pause now and breathe all that in. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, softly say to yourself, I walk with incredible power. I walk with quiet power. You see, that's virtue in motion. Now I'd like to take you forward a couple of centuries to one of my old-time favorites, the Poor Richard's Almanac. The first self-help book that I'm aware of, it's Benjamin Franklin. Not in mystic robes, but a printer. You know him to be a printer, great American inventor, a diplomat, and a man who created a self-improvement plan that was so structured. It, again, was Poor Richard's Almanac. As I recall, he chose 13 virtues, and he wanted you to practice them for so many weeks. Virtues like temperance, humility, cleanliness, order. And he worked on each one, and he tracked them. He tracked his progress in a little chart. That wasn't just discipline. That was a spiritual practice in action. Benjamin Franklin knew that affirming something was great, but it wasn't quite enough. You had to practice. He wrote, well done is better than well said. So in our context, don't just say you believe in healing. Act like someone who is healing. Don't just affirm abundance. Practice it. Practice generosity. Don't just talk about trust. Breathe it in when life gets hard. Breathe that trust right in. Louise would cheer that on. Florence Shinn would wave her wand, and Bernie Siegel, our next guide, Dr. Bernie Siegel's, would show us how the body responds to these practices in real and measurable ways. Siegel, a doctor, a Yale-trained surgeon, by the way, began noticing something unusual in his patients, those who visualized healing and who spoke lovingly to their bodies, those who affirmed with passion, those who affirmed life with passion. They recovered much better and much faster. Some even entirely beat the odds entirely. In his book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, he tells the story of a young woman. I think her name was Sarah. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was absolutely terrified, picturing her children growing up without her. And Siegel invited her to imagine her body as a garden, and each and every affirmation a flower, each fearful thought a weed. So Sarah began to visualize light pouring into all of her cells, and she would keep affirming, I am healing, I'm radiant, I'm safe. And week by week, something began to shift. Her energy got stronger. Her scans improved. She became, as he put it, a co-creator in her own recovery. So let's take a pause again and take a breath. You could put your hand on your heart, your chest if you want, and whisper to yourself, my body hears my words. Again, my body hears my words, and I speak love. I speak love. I speak truth. I speak healing. And this brings us right back home to Ernest Holmes, who taught there is a power for good in the universe, and you can definitely use it. But here's what I found. You don't access that power by shouting. You access that power through recognition. Recognition is the first step of affirmative prayer. You recognize that there is a power, there's a presence. There's one power, one presence is in you, operating through you. And as you access it, and as you feel it, right, through feeling and through showing up in word, and shows up in your words and your thoughts, and then you just let it do what it needs to do. So you have the power. The first thing to do is to recognize it, realize you are one with it, and then speak it into existence and believe it. So today in this class, we've heard voices from across time, each one reminding us of what's possible when we live with intention. Louise, of course, said we have the power to heal our life. And you do, right here, right now. Florence Scovel-Shen said your words are your wand, and she suggested speak with love, and life is going to respond. Rumi, who I chose for this evening, offered the luminous truth that the wound is where the light enters you. Healing doesn't hide the pain, it transforms the pain. And Confucius reminded us having great sincerity is the root of all virtue. So let's be real, let's be whole, let's be wholehearted, because that's where change will happen. And the great Benjamin Franklin lived by this very quiet practice. Choose a virtue, live it, and let it shape you. Progress doesn't come all at once. It comes one day, one quality at a time. And last, Bernie Siegel affirmed, love is the medicine for the body and the mind, and healing always begins with love. So let's bring these people together. Every kind word you speak is a seed. Every loving thought you repeat is a map. Every breath of trust is a key in the lock of your next chapter. You weren't born here just to survive. You've come here to thrive. You're here to shape your world with your thoughts, your choices, and your deep inner yes. So I can think back at a time in First Church when I came here. We were standing at a crossroads. I had come to New York with a clear vision to breathe life into the great First Church. This is the same church where Louise once stood and taught. And we were gaining a lot of ground. The message was catching on. New people were walking through the doors. But quietly in the background, something else was unfolding. New Thought churches were not doing real well across the country. Churches were selling buildings, and attendance, like all kinds of churches, was shrinking. And we began asking, what's really needed here? What can we do that will speak to a new generation? How can we bring the teaching forward? Because something was definitely shifting throughout the country, and we couldn't pretend otherwise. We realized that the teaching these ideas the way we had learned them wasn't enough anymore. The world was changing. Younger generations were looking for a different way of hearing it. So people were finding the healing through different doorways, perhaps mindfulness, recovery, wellness, justice work. So we listened because we needed to evolve, and we still are. We're listening. And then as we were finding our footing at the time, the pandemic hit. And so suddenly the doors of these churches were closed everywhere. The streets were quiet, and none of us knew what would happen next. We weren't at the time live streaming. We were recording. We weren't entirely tech ready. But Spirit doesn't wait for people to feel ready. And I remember thinking, can we really do this? Can we make this transition? And of course we did. We didn't miss a single Sunday. We didn't miss a single Thursday, but we went from 1 month doing it one way to the next month doing the broadcasting. Again, we didn't miss a single Thursday through all these years, a single Louise Hay class. We found a way because our message mattered, because healing matters. And now, years later, here we are, not just standing, but still serving, still evolving, not because we're strong, but because we keep saying yes. So I'm hoping maybe tonight something in your life is asking you for a bigger yes. Maybe you're standing at a turning point. Maybe you're at a place where the road ahead seems unfamiliar or even overwhelming. And if that's where you are, I want you to hear me clearly. You're not alone, and yes, you can do this. So let's ground this idea in a truth. Let's pick up that wand that we're talking about. You can have one in your hand if you want to. But in your mind, pick up the wand and say with me, I shape my world with courage and strength. Again, I shape my world with courage and strength. And let's add, wave your wand, shape your world. Wave your wand and shape your world. So let that live in your spirit, that you have this power, and carry some ideas with you. The idea that I have the power to heal my life. My words are my wand. The wound is where the light enters you. Next, sincerity is the root of all virtue. And that was Confucius, of course. And then from Franklin, well done is better than well said. And Siegel, the mind can heal with love. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to make a beginning. Okay, let's take a moment together because we've spoken the words, we've stirred up the energy. Let's take a moment to feel it from the inside out. Know you're all in a comfortable position. Let your hands rest gently, maybe holding your wand, whatever it is. Close your eyes if you can, if it's safe, or simply soften your gaze. Let's take a deep breath in and out. Again. Now imagine, if you will, a warm golden light above your head. This is the light of healing, of love, of inner wisdom. With each breath, see the light moving gently through you, softening your face, relaxing your jaw, easing your shoulders. Feel it melt your chest, your heart, and silently affirm, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm open. And let that light flow through your arms, your spine, your belly, your legs, down to the soles of your feet. And now see yourself in this wide open field, like Rumi's field. See yourself in this field beyond judgment, beyond fear, where you notice the sun is rising, the air is clean, and that there's a quiet stream nearby. Step into it. Feel the stream washing away old beliefs, old stories, and say to yourself, I release what no longer serves me. In your mind, hold your wand, real or imagined, and see it glowing with purpose, each breath making it brighter. And affirm to yourself, I'm healing, I'm aligned, I trust my path. Let those words ripple out like light on water, and take one more final deep breath in and out, and gently return. Wiggle your fingers, roll your shoulders, and when you're ready, open your eyes. You're back, clearer, lighter, more aligned with the truth of who you are. So let's bring all of this into our everyday life. Healing doesn't happen just in meditation. It shows up in small moments, in the ways you speak to yourself, in the way you rehearse, in the thoughts that you rehearse, in the love you're willing to let in. So here are 5 simple ways to carry tonight forward. This week, try mirror work, not just 1 minute a day, just a couple minutes, whenever you can, and tell yourself, I love you, I trust you, I'm with you. You don't have to fully believe it. Just have the willingness to do a little mirror work. And then choose an affirmation each day and walk with it. Maybe it's I'm healing every day. Or I love, accept, and approve of myself. Say it wherever you are, on the walk, in your car, while you're brushing your hair or your teeth. Let it become part of you. And then, from Benjamin Franklin, practice a weekly virtue. Pick just one, like patience or kindness, and write it somewhere where it's visible to remind you. And each day, try to live into that virtue just a little. Number 4, follow your hunches. That inner nudge, that inner voice, follow it because it matters. Life is attempting to get your attention. And then take the next small step and know that the universe is always going to meet you there. And next, try to have a little booklet, a journal, where you can ask yourself, what old belief am I willing to release? And as you can spot it, let's say you want to be more generous. If you see yourself not being stingy, just affirm the opposite. I am generous, I am prosperous. So practice it. So now we're at a point where we want to open our gathering. I want to invite each of you to share anything that came up for you today, anything that moved you. Let's seal our day with an affirmative prayer. Here it is. There is a power, there's a presence greater than fear, greater than confusion. It lives in me as me. It lives in you. It lives in this very moment. Today, this evening, we have spoken words of truth, trust, healing, and love. And those words will never vanish. They go out from you like seeds into the field of possibility. I affirm now that healing is already underway, that guidance is unfolding, that peace is possible and rising. I bless each soul here. No one is behind. No one is broken. We are becoming, we are expanding, we are awakening, one thought, one word, one choice at a time. And for this, I give great thanks. And so it is. So thank you all for being here for another Louise Hay lesson. Now we're going to move into our time of open sharing. So this is one of the most meaningful parts of the Thursday gathering. Please, if you're new, say hello. Like I'm from New Jersey or New York or wherever you are. We'd love to welcome you. Here's a few prompts if they help. What is one idea in your life where you're ready for healing or trust? Or did something speak to you directly where you are right now? Or what was it like to wave your wand and speak something new? We have a moment or two for everyone who wants to share. Thank you.